Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Explicit Measures podcast with Tommy, Seth, and Mike. Oh, I forgot to do the names. With the incredible Tommy, with the infallible Seth, and Data Mike.
Wow. I didn't know you went to Rome. Goodness.
Well, we went to Rome.
Well,
I don't know how to say it like that.
For Catholics, infallible ability, Pope.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, all right. I get it. Oh.
Don't really hear that word often, except
You don't hear that one.
So.
But Seth's ideas are always on point, though.
We'll see how many.
you give me such confidence with
going with this, right?
With that grunt, you give me such confidence.
What day is it? Thursday. That's right.
It is Thursday. These mornings for us, man. I've been spending more time with you guys than anyone I know right now.
And you're the happiest you've ever been in your life.
Am I? I don't know if for those listening,
debatable.
Or
as my son would say, that's mid.
How can I miss you guys if you don't leave? So.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. If you don't leave. Do your kids ever repeat things? Speaking of like mid, and that like all of a sudden they start saying something, and you look at them like, where? Like, why are you saying that? And all of a sudden, your wife looks at you and go, "Because you say it all the time."
Oh no!
Like do your kids ever do that to you?
I have said some words, and the kids have picked up on it, and they think they're the funniest words ever. And now they're like saying it all the time. I'm like, actually, we probably shouldn't say that.
There were a couple. There were a couple I didn't realize I was saying to my son. One was like, "Bro," like every time he says something dumb rather than yell at him, I'm like, "Bro, come on!" Like, so he started saying that, or my daughter did, and then
that's funny.
There was something else in conversation that comes up all the time. You're like, "Oh, I see." Maybe it's like, "Oh, I see your point."
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and
it's funny when you work with people and you start seeing like they have phrases that they use.
Oh yeah.
We just hired a new intern and he's great. He's doing wonderful, but he's got a phrase, and I think it's a good word. He's like, interesting. I was like, yeah, I know, it's good.
Well, I mean, with a kid any kid who's 5, even if they don't mean it, if I ever hear a kid say "bro," even if I say it, you're like, punk. But yeah, they don't know. Like, my daughter, all of a sudden, I was talking to her. I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go there." She's like, "Wait, what? Come on!" And I was like, "Where did that come from?" And then I realized
that was you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, they're little lenses. They lens exactly what you do. They pair it back to you what you do. When the kids were really little, my youngest would like she saw that I talked all the time about Power BI. So every story that she ever came up with when she was talking with the family had some kind of Power BI something in it. Didn't matter what it was. And then they Power BI or whatever, just had just random things. And I'm like, yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Oh, I meant to tell you guys, this is something I wish I missed a major opportunity at the conference. So this shirt that I'm wearing right here has a QR code on it. And the QR code is a link to the PowerBI.tips website. But what I should have done I should have worn the sweater with a Rickroll on it. So that when people scan the QR code, it takes you to a Rickroll.
Oh my gosh.
How funny would that have been? What's on your shirt, dude? I don't know. Scan it, And then they're like,
never gonna
give you up.
Well, if you're trying to get more purchases on the store.
Right? I don't know if that would work out as well as we.
Well, say April 1st is coming. So.
April 1st is coming. Exactly. Let's jump into our topic for today. Let's talk about this. This is going to be an interesting topic, I think. What does AI, artificial intelligence, know about data viz and storytelling? Oh boy. Now it's taking our jobs.
Right. The author certainly sounds Italian. How do you?
All I find are.
How do you pronounce that, Tommy?
Okay, so first off, kudos to the Italian community, because I'm not intending to do this. I swear.
I think he is. I think you are, Tommy.
It would be great. It would be great if I was.
Yeah, this article's not good. It's not from Italian.
No, it's just a testament to. I think that maybe we were just
the testament. I love it.
Hybrid, like genetically inclined to be.
Oh no, you're going genetically inclined. Oh boy, Tommy.
I don't know, kind of thing, but like, just kudos to all these Italians that we've found who done amazing articles.
I think it's because of the espresso. They have really good espresso.
Yeah, probably.
Paulo Chircolec. No, ooh, that's bad. Okay, Paulo. You put me on the spot. I'm not even going to try it right now. It's
Ciocciarelli or something.
Yeah, I'm adding an R when I shouldn't.
I don't know.
We'll move on.
Either way,
he wrote a great article.
He's a founding director at the Center for Design at Northeastern University.
Nice.
Which is the partner of the visual agency. So they spend a lot of education and research dollars towards design and visualization. And that's the article we're looking at today.
So the article will be in the description of the YouTube video. So if you're watching the YouTube or LinkedIn, we'll try and keep this article inside the link. So if you want to see the article and read it for yourself, you're more than welcome to look around that as well. Initial reactions. What do you think, Tommy?
So, I mean, this goes back to one of our conversations we've had, and I apologize if I'm saying this in the future or not. I know we're doing some recordings, but right off the bat with this article, the idea here is we've talked about GPT a lot, but can it also go into the data viz space? I don't know if you guys ever used Dolly at all, the generator for like it's funny, but it's not necessarily like it can do. It's not as far along as the prompting in the text. But that being said, we see what data like with AI can do, and I think from our role, from the role of the BI team, where does AI fit in? Like obviously from a coding point of view, but we haven't really talked about what about the day when the AI can actually read or model, read over a model and the right metrics and understand a tabular format, especially with Tisdale coming. It should be pretty simple to do.
I think you mean like Timdal, right? With the new formatting.
Right.
Yeah.
So where does AI going to play a role in terms of visualizing data? And then in terms of, is it going to replace a lot of what we do? Is it going to be one of those, just look at Power Apps where you say, I need to build an app that sends out, emails when people do invoices or whatever. And then bam, you're done. Do you just need to say, I need a few lines, I need to track 3 weeks over time, how our sales are doing. And then you've got all your visuals. So I think that's kind of the initial idea here.
I think what's interesting to me is overall, to sum up the article, I think his point that I agree with, and when we started, let's finish the thought, Seth, that I agree with is AI is an accelerator. So far, AI is an accelerator, not a replacer, right?
Correct.
I think when we started talking about ChatGPT, or like the instant place you go is like, oh my gosh, what is this going to replace? Dun dun dun. That was pretty good, huh?
That was really good.
Yeah.
You are now hired for all official sound effects from now on.
Let me work on that.
Okay.
But ultimately, it'll be fun to go through the article because I think he does some of this, not the same, but it's very similar. What would ChatGPT say, about storytelling and data visualization? And then it provides commentary back and forth about what he thinks the output is generating, which I think dovetails into a conversation we were having this morning about, ChatGPT, and these systems are only as good as the input that you provide it, right? So I like this article, and I think it's going to be the first of many that we might interact with, where people are stressing the bounds of what AI is providing for prompts and giving them, ideas for feedback and things like that. To some degree, and this is a side tangent, I know, some of the same reasons why we started this podcast related to the conversations that we were having about business intelligence and data and Power BI all the time were related to the value we found in that conversation, right? And I think ChatGPT and AI, to some degree, fits that role for people who don't have that, right? Now, you can't get the community, you can't get the show, so you better, I'm not saying just stick with ChatGPT. We're much more interesting. But at the same time,
what you ask it.
Like if you're thinking about
good jokes.
If you think about it, it's that It's that you providing your thoughts and ideas about something and then getting a slightly different or different thoughts and ideas back that start to create patterns of thought and kind of accelerate your direction in pursuing different pursuits of solving problems.
Well, I agree, and here's where I think I'm struggling a little bit here on some of this. I feel like the AI portion of stuff is helping me automate some of the simpler tasks, some of the mundane things, or giving me at least so, I have in my mind what I want to say, but I want to get like an example of like, here's some words that I could start shaping and forming and kind of tweak the meaning of them so that it meets the objective of what I'm trying to reach. So I like, in the chatting side of things, where I could ask a question and it returns to me like a starting point, and then I can refine it and tweak it and delete out stuff that I don't like. As opposed to the flip side of like, how would this happen inside visualizations? I think there's a lot of automation tasks that could be handled by the AI. For example, what if I just laid out my visuals on a report page and said, AI, figure it out? Like, and then what I'm assuming will eventually happen was what we see in PowerPoint, right? You put a couple visuals on a page and then you tell Power BI, okay, well, just generatively make me something that looks good with this. And it figures out how to make it better pretty, right? Or something like that. There's also simple things like, why do I need to muck around with bookmarks anymore? Why can't I tell an AI thing to say, I need 3 bookmarks in this report that go to this, this, and this? That should be a very repetitive step that could be done over and over again.
I know that while you were saying that, it would be awesome while we're while we're thinking about new Microsoft tools that they should build.
Yes.
If you use some of this AI technology and you said, here's my theme file, right? So abide by my colors, abide by all the criteria I'm setting for you as far as a visualization, and go build me. I need 3 pages. The first one's going to do this, this, this. I need navigation buttons, blah, blah, blah. Boom.
Just does it.
Did you say pontificating? Because this is going to go back to the Pope thing.
I did.
Okay. So
anybody can pontificate.
I know. But again, where you normally hear the word, I digress. So that is a good point. So we're still dealing with code. And to your point, like the theme, yes, it can start with the visuals.
Yes.
One thing Paulo really points out, and I think that, again, goes back to a theme that we've been saying, is AI can enhance what we do. It's not necessarily going to replace. The people who are going to replace you, or the way AI is going to replace you, is not the AI itself, but it's going to be people using it. On the same token, when it comes to, I think, our ability to storytell and to visualize, it may be good from an inspiration point of view, but there is a key difference in terms of we're not dealing just with code, and we're not just dealing with a particular, in a sense, prompt, because when we're visualizing data, it's for a particular audience who has, in a sense, what's important to them. And I think that's a key distinction that AI, I don't know if it can get to that point, but I think we have to really remember that AI is not necessarily going to understand the context of who's the audience.
But to your point earlier, though, Tommy, right? Like, it absolutely is not going to be able to figure those things out unless you give it that information, right? Like, who knows where the sky leads? But at the same time, like, I believe somebody really smart called Tommy Puglia was just telling me this morning that he's learning a bunch of how to interact with these tools, right?
It's changing us.
The more context you're providing, the more value you're going to get out of something, right?
Sure.
So it's not going to know that unless you tell it, right? Who's the audience for this report? What are the main key things that they need to be doing when they're analyzing the report? What are the big takeaways that they need to do? Which metrics do they need to see? Blah, blah, like all of those would be pointers to the data that we would have to produce for it, or shape or whatever. But what I'm saying is we would provide that context, and that's the value where we're streamlining and using these tools to accelerate the production of what is a lot of the technical skill, right? And I'm not saying it's going to replace everything, because it can't, but at the same time, like, well, if you want to produce this insight and this visualization for the end user, you need to create this really hard DAX calculation based on the model that you have.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have that than like, oh geez, here we go.
That's in the middle of the article. And again, Tommy, do you kind of think to your point here? What you were saying? There's a section here talking about data pre-processing. And I think, as I'm thinking about, like, how do I work with models and companies today? There's too many tables. We don't have technically all the right business requirements around how data links together. And often the number of times when people bring data to a data model, they try to get it stitched together. And the stitching together of that data works only so much. There's always a handful of errors or mistakes with it. So he talks in the article about AI can clean, transform, and prepare data for the visualizations, and then identifying how would you want to handle outliers. Because I feel like there's always this thing of like, for example, like you had a hierarchy in a company, right? You had a hierarchy and someone reports to someone in a weird way. The AI should be able to point out, hey, the data for this person changed heavily because the accounts changed for this person halfway through the year. How do you want to handle it? Do you want to restate it? Or do you want to divide the accounts across the two different salespeople? Like, there's a business challenge that comes with the information because the data is fluid. And that's where our jobs are kind of sitting right now. Like, we come in and we talk to them, hey, here's the technical challenges of the data.
Right.
And then we say, here's how we would want to solve it. You can either choose A or B. Each one of those may take a little bit longer or less, more or less time based on like how hard it is to solve that problem.
Yeah. And I think more where I see, to Seth's point in terms of the prompting, where who's to say we're not going to get to a point where just AI will know your organization structure or hierarchy.
Maybe.
So, and knows the KPIs, and you say this reports for department X and for this quarter, right? And the model is called this. And again, who's to say that it won't be able to do that?
No. I agree with you.
We're not there yet.
No.
But I won't be surprised when we are.
But I think it's going to throw out a lot of junk, to your point. Like, I think it's going to throw out, it potentially could recommend a lot of things, but it's up to you. Only you can control real data. Like, there needs to be like, there needs to be like another hook to this that says, okay, here's a lot of ideas we think you might want. Tommy, what is actually relevant to you? Because it doesn't know yet on what's most important for your feedback, right?
That was in your schema.
Yeah, month 12 always has the highest number of sales from a cumulative total. No dip, Sherlock. It's the cumulative total for the last 12 months. It's always going to be higher.
Automated insights. We're not talking about automated insights here, okay? So automated insights is the Siri of AI.
True. The Siri of issues.
Yeah. I'm saying you could go into, like, again, not to speak ideals, but the model's there, or the structure's there for you as a BI to have a schema of team metrics that are important, what their goal is, and then you basically say, hey, I need visuals for team this, for this month. Can you visualize something in the schema? But we're not there. That'd be
interesting.
Yet. Yeah. So I don't.
Interesting.
I think the biggest thing, one thing I want to focus on is there's a big difference. What we're doing between effective AI and storytelling, and then efficient. I think, and that's one thing that Paulo points out. I think absolutely this is going to be part of what we do. And as Paulo said, you better know how to prompt soon. But I think a lot of what it's going to do, in my personal opinion, is it's going to be very efficient in terms of a lot of base visualizations, a lot of base items. But like I said, I think there's a lot more in terms of, like you said, with bookmarks or the audience or that real context that I don't know if it's going to be like the replacement, be all end all. And do you see a difference there in terms of between effective and efficient with what the visualization can do?
Effective versus efficient.
Yeah, I know.
I'm having a hard time distinguishing the two. What would be the characteristics of each?
These were two prompts he was getting in the outputs. right? That he leaned into a little bit. Let me relook at that real quick to answer your question.
Is it actually in his article that you were talking about? Effective?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because ChatGPT kept using that in its outputs, so he leaned into that a little bit and outline. So just for some context, he says, I was tempted to start questioning the meaning of effective and efficient, two terms often used to identify the goal of AI assistance, but refrained. I really couldn't resist when the promise was optimal design, asking what optimal design exactly means in the context of data visualization, data storytelling, led to a synthesis of efficiency and effectiveness with a key argument that I loved. It depends.
So you know that we love GPT because it's our favorite two terms. It depends. So what do you take from that? What do you take from what? I love that paragraph. I think it's heavy.
Yeah. I mean, the output of that, like, it finishes with proposed dependencies are type of data, the story being told, the target audience, the goal of visualizations, not bad. In the context of data storytelling, efficiency disappeared, replaced with engagement, claiming that a story should be both informative and captivating. So I think where this is, I guess, leading to me is the efficiencies that AI is driving, I guess, could be related to developing the visual, but I see that much more so in the data preparation and how it like creates the outliers that we were just talking about, because that's going to be much more. It's going to be much better at identifying some of the challenging business things that it takes a good analyst to find. Like, you have to understand the business and look and be really good at data to see problems in it sometimes, right? To your point, Mike, you don't get to that point when you're building a report until much after you've already produced it, after you've already solidified everything, and you're presenting that to people, and people are looking at stuff going, that doesn't quite make sense. Like, why is that happening? Blah, blah, blah. If we can proactively bring those forward because AI would point those out to us, that streamlines our process.
I agree with you.
So effective, though, kind of leads to the point in here where how good is or where does AI or us need to focus in terms of like when you're trying to tell a story, which is significantly different. Like, we talk about data storytelling much more in infographics in journalism, right? Where it's not just a visual that helps people make decisions. It's designed to outline for you the background, the direction. Like, there's a path that it's designed to lead you down so you understand a concept or you understand the story of what all the data is doing for you. So I think that's where he dove deeper into this context within ChatGPT, because he kept seeing this, back and forth with effective versus efficient in all the outputs.
So to react to that, I'm going to go back up a little bit further. So effective and efficient, and I kind of liked how he kind of landed on the statement there, right? Replacing efficiency disappeared and talked about engagement or engaging visuals. I'm kind of struggling on, like, I could see potentially where you would apply AI for various aspects, but earlier in the article he talks a little bit around automated chart generation or automated design. And I think those are two distinctions where I would see where AI would fit the bucket or the ticket here around where you'd want to apply this, right? Can I get AI to stub me out? So I guess maybe in my mind, I'm thinking it would be really cool to be able to ask a question of your information, build a data model, have it sit in front of you. And then you can say, what are my total sales? Or if you're running like a store, which days of the week do I sell the most stuff? And then it takes it understands this is the end goal. I need to be able to tell you, and this is where I'm thinking, like, in my mind, I'm going, this could be part statistics, this could be part using the data, and it could produce a litany of just random visuals or things that would say, here's how to get from your data to the answer to that question. And it would say, on Tuesdays, you tend to sell more whatever ice cream, da 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 da, and it has to be a day that's higher than a temperature of right? And so the idea here is it's potentially creating part of that story and telling you very specific things. I think, though, what Tommy's been doing, like Tommy, the AI is teaching you basically to some degree, right? It's teaching you how to prompt it to get what you want out of it. So this is the same thing that I think that happens with Google and people today. Like we've already been ruined by Google. Like we know how to search for things. I remember when I started using Google initially, it was like, I don't know how to find the things, and you just kind of like start stamping in. Like you now kind of have a format and like how you want to search through Google. So Google has trained us to go look for, like if I'm looking for Power BI things, I search Power BI and then the thing. Or if I'm looking for something in Azure, I do Azure and then the question I'm trying to ask. And then it scans and it does it. So in the same way, I think these AI elements of how we build reports and how we storytell, it's going to be like a middle ground, right? The AI will provide something, and then we'll also change how we ask the questions or change how we integrate with the computers to get the answers to make it understand what we want it to produce. Does that make sense?
So I think that's a great point where I think one can make the argument, or if I were to ask you this today, could you survive in your role if you didn't have Google? And I think there's a point here
I wouldn't
where
want to use books all the time, but I mean I could.
do you think you would be as really with Power BI, especially like if you had no ability to search, to not use Google at all? Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Would I be as effective? Probably not.
So okay.
So I mean, if you're talking about like people were using computers and doing SQL well before Google hit the mainstream of like querying all your text answers and or finding your code and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, you can. It's just not as fast or efficient.
Now Stack Overflow, that's a different question.
Well, let me rephrase the prompt. How much credit do you give to where you're at now as a Microsoft MVP, as the expert that you are, because of searching and Googling?
That's a great question, because I say verbatim, everything I know is already on the internet. Part of it is stuff that I've created, but part of it's stuff that I've gone out and searched. So I wouldn't attribute my MVP to the ability for me to be able to Google the things. I would attribute my MVP to being like over the top obsessed with it, and going like listening to an article. And so there's a difference between, I want to say there's a difference between knowing and understanding. I think there's a point in time when you work with some tool where you start to understand it. And that's the moment where you can say, when I understand it, I'm able to tell, like people can ask me questions around Power BI. I don't even look at desktop. I don't even need to have anything in front of me. I can tell you exactly what to do. Click this button, go here, click this thing. It's found like this, da 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 da, boo boo boo. Like, like I can tell you exactly what to do without even, and that's to me the point of understanding of what things. Now, I really like to understand things. I'm very curious. So I would like to attribute like that curiosity to teasing things out, figuring out where things fit, trying to find, I love creating solutions from nothing or things that have never been done before. So like, I think I would probably not lean very heavily on Googling getting me to where I was at for MVP. But what I would say is, for anyone who's new coming to this space, there's a ton of resources out there, and it's hard to distinguish between what's good content and what's not good content. So, I mean, you have to take it upon yourself to learn. You have to get experience, and you have to get from a point of knowing how the tool works to understanding how the tool works. And when you get to that level, that's when you can add real value.
So I would make the argument that my ability to like basically query things on Google and GitHub or the community site to put in the right search to get those results and discover those answers has been a marginal difference in terms of where I'm at in terms of skill. And
marginal
my ability to be efficient.
Small?
Significant.
Okay.
So
Marginally significant.
Marginally significant,
Okay.
yes. But and I think it's made me incredibly efficient in terms of getting the answer that I need. And I think the same way, right? Because I don't have to go, I'm not like paging through a book. I can get the answer in a second because I know how to query. I know how to get Google to not like ignore a word in the query. I know how to do certain things in Google and on the community site to get an answer quickly.
So
I don't feel like
what you're
made me
describing
efficient.
to me, like, is search engines provided an accelerator for us to learn more rapidly.
Yes.
That's it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
like
agree.
for
That's the
those
perfect way to say it.
for
Yeah.
those of us who are older, when you were in grade school,
Encyclopedia Britannica.
you learned by going to the library.
Right.
And you guys know
Yeah.
what like index cards, trying to find the right book, trying to like, the library had the book. Now you got to go find it. And the only way to find it was like to pull out these massively long things where there were no, like, computers weren't a day to life. The way we learned was significantly different. Does that mean that the things that that there weren't experts? No. Does it mean that there weren't MVPs? No. Does it? Well, I don't know how far back they go.
They were chiseling it out on stone tablets. This is how you do. This is how you do SQL.
Right. The effort to learn these things took a lot more. It was physical journeys to locations because that's where knowledge stores were. And now, like, yes, does search engines allow us to learn a lot faster? Yeah, but the expectations are a lot higher. And I think to some degree, I don't know where you're driving with it. Like, do all of us have an onus of saying that, like, yeah, we learned rapidly and we have audiences that are much bigger than it would have been, as far as like us not having platforms like the internet to reach out to people and talk to them and interact with them on a level, and these massive communities of people revolving around a site, right? Like not a specific location, but a site location on the interwebs, right? Like, before that, it was your 10 people if they were paying attention to the newspaper and they showed up at the location and had to be there, right? So yeah, all of this I think then dovetails into the conversation today, where it's like, hey, AI and visualization and data storytelling, how does this fit? Like, it's another accelerator for us, I think, that is just going to help us produce more as organizations start to adapt and adopt their tool sets to allow us to use them more.
And that's exactly what I'm driving home at is AI. And I think from what it can do from a visualization point of view is not necessarily going to replace, but for what I think we can have, I don't know if it's going to be called a responsibility, but I think in order to stay part of the skill set to being efficient is to utilize AI. And I think being able to prompt it from a efficiency point of view to get that base part of, at least like Mike, you said, like quickly get the outliers, quickly kind of get some of the base information out there that I think can really, like you said, like, and make a significant impact compared to someone not using it at all. And I think it's going to be just part of the process.
I think throwing AI at some of these data challenges, like the quality of the data, I think is going to be immensely helpful because building data quality type metrics and reporting is very tedious. And, it would be nice if you could throw AI at a data model and say, I'm going to analyze all of your relationships and tell you how many blanks there are from which tables and what records they are. Just very quickly, like because it can do that in moments where it would take me like a couple minutes, 10 minutes to kind of build some tables and look around a little bit and see where the dimensions are not matching. Okay, why are they not matching? What records in this thing that are not in that one? Where's there's other things here I think that I would probably try to apply more around the AI pieces. So with that, I think we're actually at the time of the hour where we're able to say it's time for what does ChatGPT say? So since in a conversation around AI, we should definitely use AI to cap this conversation as well.
I wonder if it's going to not encourage to use it.
Exactly. It is a bad idea. You should not use it. It'll dominate the world here, and you're going to be in the matrix here a little bit.
Replaced.
It's all replaced. So before we do that, though, we did ask ChatGPT to give us a joke. So I said, please, ChatGPT, can you provide to me a dad joke? Sure. Here's your joke. Why do chicken coops only have 2 doors? Because if they had 4, they'd be called a chicken sedan. Thank you. I'm here all night. I'm teeing up my material for PowerBI.tips comedy hour. So we're gonna have that happen. No, we will not. So I did ask it a real question. I said, can artificial intelligence build data visualizations? Clearly, ChatGPT says yes. Yes, AI can build data visualizations. In fact, AI-powered data visualization tools are becoming increasingly popular in the industry. I'd like to see one that works. So we'll have to see. We'll have to get some recommendations.
Go ask it. Ask it. What are some of those tools?
Please cite your sources,
intrigued.
ChatGPT. I need to see some sources on this one. Yeah.
Calling you out.
I'm calling you out. AI algorithms can analyze large data sets, which is I think what we talked about, and that's what the article also said. They identify patterns and trends, and they represent findings in a visually appealing way, which is interesting. Good. It can also cleanse data processing and suggest the best ways to present data based on the type of information being analyzed. I think that's also pretty relevant. Again, I think the cleaning part here is potentially a lot more valuable that I think about where I spend a lot of time versus maybe in the actual building of the visuals themselves. For example, again, goes a little bit more examples here. For example, AI can create charts, graphs, and other visualizations. And then it can also assist with color selection, font choice, and other design elements to make the visualization more effective and engaging. That I really like. So the idea that it should be able to say, here's a color and here's the answers for those colors. Anyways, I think it's pretty on point here. I would probably agree with it. I would give this a pretty good score from ChatGPT. I think this is not bad.
That's a great idea. We should be tracking our rating for each one and create a data set from that.
Rating from each one.
For every GPT, how good was their response?
We need to start plotting this. All right. Well, more data. Yep. ChatGPT, please plot your responses back from the podcast.
Yes.
In the Explicit Measures podcast, how often was ChatGPT right of a score? We should just give it a score every time and let's see if ChatGPT can go find it later on.
I'm building that.
Oh boy. So anyways, with that, we thank you very much. This was a shorter episode. We recorded it. So apologize for not being live. We've had people traveling around and doing things. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your listenership. If you like this content, if you found this engaging, please recommend you share this with somebody else across the internets. We really appreciate it. And not just share it. Let us know what you found was interesting in the article or in the podcast. Tell us what you thought. Where do you think AI fits? And then share that, and we'd be happy to have more conversation on the social media areas. Tommy, where else can you find the podcast?
Well, make sure to ask GPT to subscribe to the podcast. That's where we want to get, where GPT knows who we are. But make sure you find us on Apple and Spotify, Google Podcasts. Subscribe to all of our episodes. We're almost at 200. Or you can watch live on YouTube and LinkedIn every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Central.
Awesome. Thank you all very much, and we appreciate your listenership. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.